Hey there, good morning, David here. This is an intermediate English lesson. So if you want to learn English, we're going to be talking about making introductions, making small talk, really basic stuff, just as kind of a review and to give you some tips on how to speak better English and communicate with people, right? So generally, when you first meet someone, what do? You greet them, right? So when you're greeting somebody, what kind of things can you say, right? Generally say, hello, how are you? If you're a little more informal, hey, what's up? Okay? You can say, pleased to meet you, nice to meet you. Like I said, really basic stuff that most English students learn in lesson 1 in your very first English class. So, like I tell my students, when I meet someone for the first time, I greet them, and I always have to say, nice to meet you, so they can reply, nice to meet you too, and feel like they're practicing their English. So, it's good stuff. Right back to the basics. So, if it's someone that you don't know, right, if it's someone you do know, you just greet them, hey, how are you, what's up? If you don't know them, you can introduce yourself, right? So the second part here, introduce yourself, walk up and say, hey, may I introduce myself? Can I introduce myself? Or my name is David, nice to meet you. Or hello, I'm Dave, nice to meet you, right? So there's different ways of saying this. I'm not going to write down each individual phrase because, like I said, this is a refresher. Most of the stuff you've already probably seen. So if you have a question, you can leave a comment, and then I myself or someone else who's watching can reply and answer your question to how to spell the different phrases that you might not remember. Okay, so continuing on, you can also introduce a colleague, right? Someone who's with you, especially if you're in a work situation, a business situation. So you've got your friend there and you want to introduce them as well. You can say, I'd like you to meet my friend Joe. I'd like you to meet my colleague Susan. Or just, I'd like to introduce you to Fred. Okay? So those are some phrases that you could use. And like I said, this is more just a quick review here. So then, after you've greeted them, introduced yourself, introduced whoever's with you, you get into making small talk. So one of the tips that professional coaches, trainers recommend is that when you go somewhere and you're talking to people, always view yourself as the host. Even if it's not your house or your business, just have that attitude where you're the host, the person that's throwing the party, and make yourself approachable. Approach other people, take the initiative to greet them, to introduce yourself, because you may feel shy and you might, just imagine how you would feel when you're in a new place and you don't know people. Then just put yourself in their shoes and treat them like you would like others to treat you. So you're standing there, you're not sure what to do, and someone comes up, they're very friendly, very warm, they greet you, they talk to you, introduce themselves, introduce their friends, they ask you some questions, they talk about topics that you find interesting. So do the same thing when you're in a situation like this. Introduce yourself to other people, be warm, be friendly, and talk to them, right? So this is the art of making small talk. So some tips that are recommended is to use the R method, A.R.E. And those stand for, number 1, anchor, number 2, reveal, and number 3, encourage. So how does this work? So when you come up to someone, you can anchor yourself to them. How do you do that? make a comment on something around you. Comment on something you see, a situation. So if you're at a party and there's food, you can say, this food is great, you know? Or these chips are really nice, or the dip is delicious. Or, you know, just make some kind of comment in the situation around them. And then comes the revelation, right? Where you can make a personal statement. So first you just comment on something and then reveal something about yourself personally. Like, boy, do I love mangoes. You know, they're my favorite fruit. When I was growing up as a kid, we had a mango tree in my backyard, and I would climb it every day to get a mango or a guava or whatever, you know? So you make a comment on something. If there's fruit, then you can reveal something about yourself. And then finally, encourage them to reply, say something, either by asking a question or giving them the opportunity to express themselves, something they like or what they think about it. I saw an interesting video yesterday. Two businessmen were talking, so that they walk into his office, and the man who walks in sees a large painting on the wall, a picture. It was a picture of an octopus. If I'm not mistaken, it was Ty Lopez, and he was talking with Grant Cardone. So Ty walks in, he greets Grant, his friend, and they, you know, hello, how are you, the basics. And he sees the picture on the wall, and he makes a comment. Wow, that's an interesting picture, the octopus, you know, and he makes some comments about it, and then he asks, what is the significance of that picture? And then he pauses and waits and lets Grant answer, because the octopus is a meaningful animal to Grant. He has a picture on the wall. He's got another picture of an octopus framed on the side. There's a model of an octopus on his desk. So an octopus isn't a common animal to see in someone's office, right? You think people usually think of like eagles or lions, you know, animals like that that would be more common. But the octopus was different. It was something that Ty could comment about, and it gave them something to talk about. And so they began to talk about the octopus, and you know, the octopus being an intelligent animal, blah, 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 and I don't remember all the details about it. But it was interesting listening to them make small talk before they got into doing their business deal. So I know making small talk can often feel uncomfortable. You know, sometimes we're afraid to go up and talk to people we don't know. We want to get straight into the important stuff. But the small talk is kind of a prelude to getting there, right? To getting to know the person, to opening them up, because everybody's kind of shy and nervous, at least if you're like me, you're an introvert, right? And so it warms people up, being friendly, making conversation. And I know especially like as an English student, if you want to talk to someone, but sometimes you're afraid of making a mistake, you're afraid of what people are going to think, you're embarrassed of, you know, people laughing at you or whatever. So there's that extra pressure of making small talk while you're learning English. But it's important, and it's a good way for you to practice your English skills, right? So a couple of suggestions here. Asking questions, giving juicy tidbits, which are kind of two things we already talked about, and 3, the use of filler phrases. This is something that Benny mentions, and I've seen other language teachers talk about. I've used it myself when learning Portuguese and studying French, and it's really interesting when you use filler phrases to make small talk, to actually apply these principles. So let's get into that a little bit. Let's talk, okay, we're talking about a business situation. So what kind of things could you say applying this into talking about your job, right? So if you're talking about work, you're making small talk, you can say, what do you do for a living? If you're asking them a question, what kind of work do you do? If you know where they work, you can ask them, what do you do here, right? What are you responsible for? Or if you're talking about yourself, you can say, I'm in charge of, the human resource department or sales and marketing or whatever you do. I work in accounting or the billing department or the marketing department. So, this is a moment for you to talk about what you do and what they do. Okay, so like I said, you anchor, reveal, and encourage them to talk by asking questions. Once you ask a question and they answer, and a tip for you if you're answering, don't just give one-word answers. If they ask, do you work here? You say, yes. Okay, and they don't know what to reply after that. So, make a comment about that. Oh, so an example. Let's say they ask, if you're coming to visit or you're new, this is like your first job, and they ask, where are you from? You can say, oh, I'm from Brazil, and I really like it here in New York City because the weather's cooler, the people are nice, so you can say where you're from, but also tell them what you like about it or what you don't like, or compare it to something that's different between where you're at and where you are now. So as you answer, make sure to comment and talk a little bit more about that situation. So if they ask, what do you do here? Say, oh, I'm new here. I just started working in the sales department. It's really exciting. I enjoy it. Before I was the janitor, and I hated my job, but I love what I do now, and this is great. I feel fulfilled, etc., etc., etc. Especially if you know what they do, and you can tie in what you do with something related to their job description or their function or whatever, so you can make that connection and bond with them, right? So comment on your own answers and deepen the conversation by asking follow-up questions. Oh, so you work in, the administrative department. What do you like most about it? Okay, so you follow up on your previous question with another question, giving them the opportunity to deepen their answers, to find out more about them, and to build that connection with them. So, as you talk and comment, you're giving juicy tidbits about yourself. So as they make a comment, you can express your own ideas. Like I said, oh, this food's great, isn't it? I love mangoes because I grew up in Brazil and there were mango trees all around my house, So you're giving juicy tidbits. If you just ask questions, you pepper people with questions, that can be kind of intimidating, So share information about yourself, gather information about them so you can reply. And, it doesn't always have to be questions. Sometimes it can be a statement. So instead of asking a question, just state a fact. Oh, so you like mangoes too? Or, what's your favorite kind of mango? And then just using these techniques to continually deepen the conversation and the small talk, open them up, warm up the environment, right? So that way you can bond with them and get into the important stuff of whatever it is that you want to talk about, if it's your business deal or whatever it is that you're talking about. And then, of course, the use of filler phrases. Like I said, this is one of my favorite parts. Filler phrases work like this. Let's say someone asks you a question. And normally, as an English student, you would answer that question. So if they say, so what do you do here? And what's your favorite thing about your new position? And then normally we would just answer, oh, I like it because da 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 da. A filler phrase is something you say before and something you say after to, prepare for what you're going to say. And this can be really helpful for you as an English student because if somebody asks you a question, you have to think about your answer. Sometimes you don't know the right word or phrase. It can be kind of stressing, right? So filler phrases are phrases that you've already practiced beforehand. For example, if someone says, so what's your favorite thing about this job position, your new job position? So a filler phrase could be something like, wow, that is a very interesting question. I appreciate you asking me this question, all right? That's not answering their question. There are a couple of phrases that you can practice ahead of time that will work in general with almost any kind of question, right? So you say these phrases and it gives you some time to take off the pressure. Think about your answer, and then by the time you say it, then you can answer the question. Oh, I really like this position because of da-da-da-da-da, and I love my colleagues. The work makes me feel satisfied. The 3 top things that I enjoy about this are boom, 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 boom. So, and then you can wrap it up by using another filler phrase. So you say, oh, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. The way I feel about this is da-da-da-da-da. And then you could wrap it up with another filler phrase saying, and what about you? What do you think about this question? Okay? Now, obviously that can work with almost any question. You just have to make sure it's appropriate for that specific question. If they're asking you something personal that might not work for you to throw that back to them, then obviously you couldn't use this. But for most questions, if somebody asks you a question, you can say, oh, that's a nice question. Thanks for asking. This is what I think. And then wrap it up by replying, and how about you? What do you think about this same question? So you've got phrases at the beginning, phrases at the end. So the only thing you really have to think about is your answer in the middle. The rest are phrases that you've already practiced and you know how to say. So this can help take the pressure off you as an English student when you're in a situation that could be sort of nerve-wracking, right? And then of course, you want to show an interest in the people that you're talking to. So you could use some phrases like, really? Wow, that's so interesting. I had a biology teacher once who would always say this, wow, so interesting. So she was from the South and she had a strong Southern accent. So it's come out kind of like this, wow, that's so interesting, But show people that you're interested in what they're saying, that you're engaged with them, making appropriate facial expressions, talking, communicating, asking questions, commenting on their answers, making your own comments. So these are some different things that you can do when you're meeting someone, introducing yourself, when you're making small talk. So I hope this was a quick review for you. Like I said, the phrases that we used, I didn't write each individual phrase down. I left some space here if something came up that I wanted to write, but just started talking and I didn't write anything down here. But you can go ahead and leave a comment about any of these phrases that we mentioned here, just for practice, or if you have other suggestions that you want to share with the other viewers, the other English students who are watching this video, feel free to do that as well. Something someone could do is compile a list of greetings or phrases for each of these different topics and leave them in the comments below for everybody to talk about. And even if there's some interesting conversations or questions, I can record another follow-up video later, either talking about those or helping you practice your pronunciation with those or explaining any vocabulary words that you don't know. Okay, well, that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it, found it helpful. If you did, please subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe so you get updated on follow-up videos, like it, and leave comments. That way we can interact, keep the conversation going. So I'm really excited about opening this dialogue with you, helping you learn your English. I'm also recording videos like on my way to work, as I just talk about random topics that come to my head. I'll also be recording some more of these whiteboard videos talking specifically about English questions and topics that you have. And we'll also probably be doing some live sessions where we can interact and talk as well. And I'll also be sharing some of the stories that I'm writing for my English students right here. So I think this is going to be fun. I'm excited to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and bye-bye.